chances are you've just picked up a Pixel 11, Pixel 11 Pro, Pro XL, or Pro Fold. And I want to share with you all of the first things you should do with your new phone to unlock all of the best new features and get the phone set up the way you want. And even if you are upgrading from another device, I always like wiping the slate clean and starting fresh every so often, instead of just continually just restoring a backup over a backup over a backup with just all the bloat that comes over time. So this is fresh out of the box, and all I've done is gone through the initial setup and signed in with my Google accounts. I have hit yes to basically all of the defaults and skipped the last few steps. So without further ado, let's jump into the very first things I've done when setting up my brand new Pixel 11. Since we're in a place right now where prices are going up, the first thing you want to do is protect your phone with a MagBack case. Now, I've used them for years on all of my phones, and their Elite case does, well, everything you'd expect, protecting yourself from drops and scuffs and scratches, but also has additional features, which is just the whole reason why I love these cases. There are customizable colors for the buttons and rubber accents. There's a magnetic kickstand that works in portrait or landscape positions, an included screen protector that's very easy to apply. There's a tuck away finger loop, which makes using even the 11 Pro XL very comfortable. A soft pinky pillow to rest your finger on. Plus, and of course the party trick of these cases, super strong magnets that stick to any magnetic surface. Great for gym equipment, in the kitchen, or just when out and about. Plus, it is also compatible with the MagBack Smart Wallet that works on both Apple and Android ecosystems. And just as a long-term fan of their products, you can get 15% off using the code 15Pete at checkout via the link in the description down below. Now, first of all, swipe down from the top with 2 fingers, tap on the settings cog, scroll down to system, then software updates. Firstly, check that your system is up to date and force it to check for an update to make sure you have the latest version of PixelOS installed on your phone. Then go to app updates, and again, super important here to check if there are any updates. As you can see here, there are like 40 odd updates now installing, updating all of the stock Google apps which aren't installed as part of the system update that we just checked. Next, head into the settings once again, system, navigation mode, and just check what is set here, especially if you're coming from an iPhone, because by default it is set to gesture navigation, which is pretty close to the way you would already be accustomed to navigating on an iPhone, such as swiping up for the home screen and switching apps. Now, I do have videos detailing exactly how to move from an iPhone to Android, which I'll link in the description down below. But just in case you went through the setup and accidentally chose the wrong one, here is where you can change it. Some people I know like to use the 3-button navigation, which puts buttons at the bottom of your screen to go back, home, and switch apps. Now, if you want to, you can also toggle the option here in gesture navigation to swipe to invoke the assistant, which will let you trigger Gemini's AI by swiping in from the bottom corners. Speaking of which, let's get Gemini set up to make sure it's actually enabled on your phone. So open up the Gemini app, and it may well ask you a few questions to enable Gemini. Now, all Pixels come with 6 months free of Google's AI Pro plan, after which it is £18.99 per month, at least here in the UK, if you want to continue using it. But outside of Gemini, the Pixel 11 series is also packed with the Tensor G6 to provide a number of on-device AI, things like scam detection, summarization, and translation. Now, back into the system settings, as we now need to check that your screen is set to the best quality possible. So settings, display, down to screen resolution, and you can see here that it's not in the highest possible resolution setting. It does say that switching to this might drain your battery faster, so this is obviously something to keep an eye on. If you find your battery is draining too much, then again, this is one you could roll back with probably little noticeable difference. Still in the display settings, if you are installing a screen protector, I would also enable the touch sensitivity toggle switch here and then re-enroll your fingerprint, otherwise it just doesn't work that well. And then there is a little known feature under auto rotate screen, which if you tap on, lets you enable it, but also uses face detection. So if you are using your phone and then you lay down, it should intelligently know not to rotate the screen. This is like definitely one to try if you are a nighttime scroller using it in bed. Another one that will make your new phone feel pretty fast, and something that I do notice straight away if it's set to default. Head into settings, about phone, scroll down and then tap the build number until you get this message that says, you've unlocked developer settings, congratulations. Now this is one that's, yes, really well known of course, but if you are new to Pixel or Android, then possibly not. But now, under System Settings, you have a new option called Developer Options available to you. From here, you can scroll right down into the drawing section, and there are 3 things here that are worth changing. You've got Window Animation Scale, Transition Animation Scale, and Animator Duration Scale. And just by changing these from 1x to 0.5x, it makes your phone really snappy and responsive, as this just halves the speed of like all of the animations. Now you can even remove them entirely by setting this to 0, but that can feel a bit odd and jarring with having no kind of animations at all. So I do leave mine set to 0.5x all the time. Honestly, this setting alone is what makes something like an iPhone feel really slow when you go back to it, because you have to wait for their, pretty, but very slow animations to play out each time. So yeah, this is a must change in my eyes. Tip number 7 is to add any other accounts onto my phone. Since when going through setup, I only signed into one account, and I actually have quite a few. I've got work accounts, personal accounts, accounts I share with others. So again, I head into the Play Store, tap your profile picture, and then tap the small down arrow, then add another account. And then I just sign into all the other accounts I want to have on this phone. The next thing I suggest doing is start downloading all of the apps that you want, because that could take quite some time depending on how many apps you want to install. So head into the Google Play Store. First of all, I like to download my Password Manager app before downloading anything else, just because then I know that's finished downloading and installing before I then start the very time-consuming task of signing into each and every single new app. Now, once I am signed into my Password Manager, then I head to Manage Apps and Device, then tap on Manage, and here you can tap on where it says this device and see which apps you have installed on previous devices, if you're not coming from an iPhone that is, or you can just go to the not installed and see all of the apps that you have previously downloaded at one time or another, but aren't installed on this phone. Now this can just be a much faster way to tick and just download all of the apps that you wish to install in one go, rather than having to search one by one and download and install them separately. But again, depending on how many apps you select and how big they are, the speed of your connection, it is well worth doing this and then just leaving it to do everything in the background before you then try and sign into them all. And you might notice that your phone might get a little bit warm here, or maybe a bit slow, but that's because just all of this is happening at once. So whilst we're doing this, head into your Google Photos app now, and we just want to make sure your photos are actually being backed up. So if you are signed in with the right Google account, you can enable this as soon as you launch Google Photos. And from the settings cog, you can choose to back up the original highest quality copies, and depending on the included data in your phone contracts, whether to use mobile data to back up your photos and videos, or just back up on Wi-Fi. Now this is very important. Like, a few times I have gone to pick up a new phone and then not bothered opening the Photos app because I've just assumed it's all backed up automatically, and then just wondered why my photos weren't appearing on my other devices. Now with that done, a few more basics before we really start digging into the rest of the system. So to maximize the screen space that you have, especially on the Pro XL and Fold, tapping and holding a space on the home screen, wallpaper and style, and then change the layout from medium to small, just to make better use of that space. Back to the home screen, tap and hold in a space once more, then home settings, and at the bottom under apps list settings, enable always show keyboard. Doing this means that whenever you want to open an app, rather than hunting around to find the icon, you can just swipe up, type in the first few letters, and get straight to the app that you want. I just find it much easier than hunting through my apps constantly. And then we can do a quick run through the next settings to change. Open the phone app, tap the burger icon, then settings, and then caller ID and spam. And here, just enable the filter spam calls, just to prevent being interrupted by any suspected spam calls. And whilst you are here, also head into calling accounts, and then tap your SIM card and enable Wi-Fi calling just to get the best quality audio when you're on a phone call. Next up, let's look at customizing this new highlight feature. So from the Contacts app, pick a favorite contact, and then under contact settings, select highlight and check for calls only, and select a color. And then make sure that just highlight is enabled in system, highlights, and make sure use highlight is checked here. Let's now take a look at some other safety features. So in settings, safety and emergency, go ahead and enable car crash detection. Do the same thing again for satellite SOS. So that might clear up some of the setup notifications you have waiting, but if they are still there, then click on Finish the Pixel Setup. Now here you can transfer some items from a previous phone if you didn't do this already as part of the setup, and you can also set up a few other features. So I like enabling the always on display, identifying music around you, also adjust settings to environment to enable things like adaptive sound and vibration. So if it knows it's quiet, then it won't buzz loudly in a quiet room. Control what's on the display on the lock screen so you can make sure that it only shows information when unlocked. Now, if you have a family, then the sponsor of this video, Nori, may well be of interest to you. So Nori is a family planner that my kids have just become obsessed with. It pulls in my Google and Apple calendars, my wife's calendar, so my whole family can see where everyone is every day. You can use it to plan meals, and it even has a whole library of meals for you to choose from, or just create your own. For example, if you find a recipe you like on Pinterest, you can simply share that link directly to the Nori app. Nori will analyze the recipe, create the plan, and sync it to your Nori hub. But the part that has my kids' attention the most is the tasks board. So now, rather than nagging my kids to do their chores, like making their bed or tidying up their room, with Nori, they actually want to do them. After completion, they can get their stars, which are used for then redeeming rewards, maybe a movie night, or probably more likely to be pocket money. Now we've started giving our kids chores to earn their pocket money, and just all of a sudden, magically, they've become the most helpful children that I've ever known. Each day they check off their chores, and then each week, my wife and I have a chore to check on their chores before we then pay them their pocket money. There is no nagging to tidy rooms. Everything gets checked off every single day. Even if I'm busy with something else on hand, I can also ask Nori to help me with operations, just like this.
Hey Nori, add garlic powder and paprika to my shopping list.
But since we started using the Nori planner, our house has just become a whole lot more organized. So you can pick one up via the link in the description, and a huge thank you to Nori for sponsoring this portion of the video. And for getting my kids to actually do some work. A fun one now. Under Settings, System, head down to Rules, and this is a little known feature on Pixel that lets you do one common thing that you may want to do, which is to create a rule that runs when you arrive at a specific location or connect to a certain Wi-Fi network that can either set your phone to maybe do not disturb, silent, vibrate, or ring. This is great if you want your phone to go into D&D every time you arrive at work, or when you get home to set the ring or vibrate on so you can actually put your phone down but still hear it ring. Following on from this, if you head into Settings, then Modes. So here is where you can set things up like a bedtime mode or driving mode. You can even create custom modes for things like work or home or just anything else you want, and then configure what you want the phone to do during this mode. And so you can control which notifications are allowed through. If you want maybe notifications only from calls or messages from family members, you can also select which apps are allowed through, whether alarms and sounds are allowed, and you can do a few extra things such as automatically placing the phone into dark mode, or dimming the wallpaper, disabling the always on display, which could be great if you wanted to create, say, sleeping mode for when charging overnight. Now, a quality of life setting here, under sounds and vibration, obviously you can set your ringtones and your notification sounds, but head down to the bottom and disable charging sounds and vibration so that, well, for me, when I get into bed late at night and my wife is already asleep, it doesn't then wake her up by making that, charging sound. Obviously, that means if your phone is sat on the side and not charging properly, then you won't hear it, but at least you know the option is there if you need it. Now, tip number 17, app notifications. Disable any that you don't care about, because this is where all of the noise comes from on Android. And then tap to go down a level, and you can actually customize specific types of notifications within certain apps. Here it's really worth spending a bit of time doing this ahead of time just to save you the hassle later on. Now, alternatively, you can just not do any of this, and instead, as notifications come through, you can tap and hold on them to get the option there to turn those ones off. And the beautiful thing about this, and one of the reasons I love Android phones for this, is that tapping the settings icon will actually take you to the app notifications page and even flash the specific category of notifications that this particular one came from, so you now know which one to switch off without affecting other notifications from the same app. I also head into the notification dismissal sync and enable this if you have other Pixel devices like a Pixel tablet. This just means you can dismiss the notification once and it removes it from your tablet as well. A really, really nice Android feature here. Also in this section, you can toggle the allow notification snoozing, which will then let you tap and hold on any incoming notification and then snooze them if you want to pick them up later on. And enable notification history. This way, if your phone, bings or buzzes, but you're not actually sure what caused it, you can always head back into here to find out what actually caused it. Next up, let's talk about wallpapers. So to start customizing this, you can tap and hold your home screen, then head to wallpaper and style, and then tap more wallpapers. And you have a few options here. Firstly, if you tap AI wallpaper, then you can tap into imaginary, and then using the phrase it's given you down the bottom, tap on various words to come up with a very unique AI generated wallpaper, which is unique to you and your phone. If you want to change the type of wallpaper, you can then tap at the top here and change it to something else. But all of these are AI generated and will be different each and every time you go in here. If you go back to the wallpaper screen, you can also try the animated emoji workshop. Here, if you tap onto edit emoji, you can actually customize the emojis which are displayed on the wallpaper. If you tap on patterns, you can change the style and size of how those emojis are displayed on the background, and of course, change the color too. So once this is saved, if you tap into a space on your home screen, you can actually see it react, which is kind of cool. And then the third one here is to use one of your own photos, but there is a cool trick to show you here. So if you select a photo from your library and then down the bottom, tap the effects button, you do get a few options. You've got shape will give you a little mask where the phone is locked and then reveal the full photo when unlocked. Weather will overlay the current weather condition over your wallpaper. And then cinematic, which once you download the effect, it will actually add this 3D depth effect to whatever photo you selected. So once that's downloaded and applied the effect, tick the add 3D motion button and apply for home, lock screen, or both. And now, if you tilt the phone, you'll be able to see that person or maybe the object look ever so slightly like it's moving on the screen. So it's very subtle, but still a cool little effect. Tip number 19, if you want to also theme your icons to go better with your wallpaper because it looks better, or maybe you just don't want the distraction of all the different colored icons, then you can head back into your wallpaper and style and icons. Then you have quite a few options. So at the bottom, select shape to change the shape of your icons, maybe to squircles if you want that iPhone like familiarity, names to hide or show app names, and style. Default is the full color icons. Minimal changes those icons to match your theme color, and create, which gives you custom AI designed app icons. There are a few base styles to start with, but some of them do then let you change the wording into the prompt for a more custom feel. Tip number 20, back into the wallpaper and style, swipe over to change your lock screen. Now from changing the size and shape of the clock, and its different styles, you can set the color again using those color palettes underneath. And then you can also customize the two shortcut icons. Now by default, it's the device controls and wallets, but you can change one of these to the available options for quick access to that setting, or say launching the camera. Or you can just simply switch them off altogether for a cleaner lock screen. Right at the bottom, there is also an option for more lock screen settings, and this is still worth looking through. So you can add text to the lock screen if you wish. You can also set whether you can use device controls from the lock screen without having to unlock your phone. You can enable or disable the clock from dynamically adjusting the size, depending on what's on the lock screen. And you've got the now playing options here, which top tip, if you tap to go into here, you can also see the now playing history. If you can't remember what the name of the song was from a few days ago, you can go in here to find the name of those songs. And if you want to, you can enhance the now playing to use Google to then go and search for unrecognized songs, as well as provide album artwork, which each their own. It depends on how much access you want Google to have to, the things around you. So feel free to enable that if you wish. But with that enabled, if you go back to your lock screen and there's music on in the background, you will be able to see it identify what music is playing. And if you tap onto it, you can then go straight to that track on YouTube Music, or just add it directly to a playlist. Now my Pixel has come with a dark mode enabled by default, and you can change this inside of settings, under display and touch, then dark theme. Now for timing, I normally set this to schedule with sunset to sunrise, just so that it's easier on the eyes at night and then easier to read in the daytime. But again, each their own if you're a dark mode kind of person. Also, under comfort filters, there is comfort view and night lights. Enable this if you wish. I actually keep it disabled as I want to see accurate colors, especially when reviewing video footage late at night, since I'm a bit of a night owl. But top tip, this is one of the settings that the president of Android changes on every single phone that he gets. So that's one to look at. Comfort view tones down the colors to be more comfortable on the eyes. Maybe useful if you're spending a lot of time looking at your screen. And night light reduces things like blue light, which is thought to keep us awake when using our phones late at night. And you can drag the slider to control how little or how strong this effect is on your screen, just to find something that you're happy with. Now, a big annoyance that's set by default is the 30-second screen timer straight out of the box. So under settings, display and screen timeout, you can either change this from the default 30 seconds, but you can also check two options below this for adaptive timeout and also screen attention, which uses that front-facing camera to check if you're actually still looking at your phone, and if you are, then it will keep the screen on for longer than the screen timeout is set to. So if you happen to be reading a long email and your screen keeps dimming every 30 seconds, this is a great feature that is well worth enabling. This next feature is a big one for families, and it's something that I know many people wish they could do, and it's creating additional user accounts on your Pixel. So head into settings, system, then users. So if you have a child that you could then have an account there loaded up with all of their favorite apps or games, it does still use your SIM card to make calls, and you can toggle this on or off if you wish. But it is great to see that you can actually have multiple user accounts on one device. Not something many people need, sure, but for those that do, really, really useful. Next, head into settings, security and privacy, and then scroll all the way down to more security and privacy. Again, scroll down, and there is an option here called extend unlock. And this option will allow you to keep your device unlocked if it meets certain requirements. Now, one of them is on-body detection, which just keeps your phone unlocked whilst you are walking for up to 4 hours. The second is trusted places, which you can set as maybe your home address or work location, again for 4 hours or until you leave. And thirdly, trusted devices. So if you are wearing a Bluetooth watch like a Pixel Watch, or even something like a Bluetooth connection to your car, again, it knows it's a safe place and so won't lock. Again, this is for 4 hours or until it disconnects from that Bluetooth device that you define. Pixels finally come with theft protection enabled by default, but there is still an extra setting here which you do need to go and enable. So security and privacy, lost device protection, then theft protection. Here there is remote lock. So this means that if you lose your device or it gets stolen from you, you sign into your Google account from your computer or even a friend's device and remotely lock your phone. So even if someone has seen your PIN or somehow it stays unlocked, you can be sure that your data is still safe with this option. But you will need to be quick as it requires an active SIM card. So if the thief pulls your SIM card from the phone, you won't actually be able to remotely lock it, which pairs nicely with my next tip. So there is an option here for offline device lock. So if your phone does lose signal for any reason, it will lock the device, or indeed if someone has then taken your SIM card out. Enabling this feature will then lock your phone again. So if someone did get it in their hands, at least it's in a locked state, which is much harder for them to break into. You can also find your devices using the Find Hub to both locate and remotely erase your phone, but again, only if you've actually set this up, which if you haven't been in here before, well, then it hasn't been set up. So tap on Find and Erase Your Device, which takes you into the Find Hub settings. Tap on Find Your Offline Devices, and now you can run through the setup steps, which I just highly recommend choosing the With Network Everywhere for the best chances of finding your devices. Now, did you know that every Pixel phone comes with a free VPN service? You can actually set this up by going into Settings, then Network and Internet, VPN, and you'll have the option here of VPN by Google. Now you can scroll down here and enable the option for using VPN whilst you are on a mobile network, or just leave this off to only protect when you're connected via Wi-Fi. Now, if you don't already know, VPNs are really good for hiding you away from tracking as you browse around the web. So if you do want to avoid being sent any targeted advertising and things like that, then this is really good for that. So just scroll down, tap on Use VPN, tap Allow, and it will start connecting. So here you can see you can pause and switch it on or off, but there is a better way to do this by customizing the quick settings pull down options. So to customize the quick settings, there are two ways of accessing this. So firstly, you can swipe down from the top with one finger, which will give you 4 quick settings, and then your notifications. Then if you swipe down again, it will give you a full screen quick settings screen, as well as an edit button to customize this. Now the second way is to just swipe down with 2 fingers, and that will take you straight to this full screen quick settings menu. And from here, tap the edit button, and now you can actually customize by tapping and holding on something and dragging it around with your finger. Now if you don't want something at all, you can drag it from the top section to the bottom section. And if you want something on the very first page of the quick settings, then drag it either to one of the top 4 settings or one of the settings below that. So it's just basically the lower you go, the more taps and the more swipes it will take to actually get there. Now swipe back to go back a step, and now you have access to the Google VPN from that quick settings menu. You can also tap and hold on some of the options to get into the relevant settings for that option. So that will take you to the full Google VPN settings page that we saw earlier. But likewise, if you did the same for Wi-Fi, for example, then that will take you to the full internet settings page and so on. Now, I generally use things like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, torch, and maybe screen record because I record a lot of my screens for these videos. But you do have quick access to things like your Google wallets, the auto rotate settings, casting to other devices, and just so many others that are available. So feel free to have a play to find what works well for you. Now, some quality of life settings here. Head into settings, digital well-being, and here you can scroll down and tap on bedtime mode, which you can then enable on a simple schedule or when charging between certain hours. You can also enable cough and snore detection to monitor those nighttime interruptions. Then customize buttons. So this will take us back to the mode screen that we saw earlier, where we can control which people and apps are allowed through whilst in that bedtime routine mode. Now, if you head back to digital wellbeing settings and scroll down to flip to Shush, and I love this feature, it's really, really useful. With this feature toggled on, if you're eating a meal or with friends, and you don't want to be interrupted, you can simply flip your phone over, screen facing down, and it will do this short vibrate, which then tells you that D&D is now enabled. So now you can enjoy, whatever you're doing, and then simply flip it back over or just pick it up to disable that setting. A nice convenient setting now, hidden in accessibility. So settings, accessibility, system controls. With the Pro XL, having one-handed mode turned on can be really, really useful, and you can assign it to other options, but I like the default pull-down method, so you can easily reach the top of an app with one hand. Back in accessibility, system controls, check power button ends call. So this lets you hang up on a call by pressing the power button. Actually a really convenient way to end a call when you're out and about and just want to put your phone back in your pocket without having to try and find that button on the lock screen. Now, whilst you are limited to 2 shortcuts on that lock screen, there is a way to enable a third shortcut. So if you head into settings, system gestures, and then tap on quick tap to start actions, you can actually double tap the back of your phone to do things such as taking screenshots, toggling the torch, which is one I use often, or you can actually use it to open any app on your phone. Again, a common one here is using it to maybe launch the Google Wallet to give you quick access to that by just double tapping. But again, you can just play around here and find what works well for you, and depending on the features and apps that you actually use. And then we have the cool Google feature that so many people have come to rely on now, and why they choose a Pixel phone above other phones, and that is a number of their calling features. So heading into phone app, tap the 3 dots, go to settings, and then you have a few options at the top here. Hold for me. If you tap this and enable this, this will let you put your phone down whilst you're waiting on hold, maybe for a doctor's appointment or calling the tax man. And it does this by doing everything on device. So the call actually stays connected, but your phone monitors that call and listens for when a real person starts talking, and it will then let you know when you're actually on the call with a real person and not just having to sit there waiting in line. Next down is direct my call. Similarly, if you ever have a call which has loads of options like, calling your phone or cell provider and you hear press 1 for sales, 2 for accounts, 3 for customer support, and all that stuff. Again, all on device, but your Pixel will listen for this and display those options on your screen, and you can just tap the options you wish to use rather than having to wait on the call and listen to every single option. Then you can also enable call screen from here, where your Pixel will actually answer incoming calls and transcribe what they are saying to your screen. And you can have the option here to tap quick shortcuts to respond back to them, or either pick up or hang up the call on them. You can also record the call screen audio just in case you want to listen to it back to check if it really was who Pixel thought it was. And you can automatically have those recordings deleted after 30 days if you want to enable that. So that is the definitive guide to setting up your brand new Pixel 11, Pixel 11 Pro, Pro XL, or Pixel 11 Pro Fold. I do hope you enjoy the devices. Subscribe if you want to see more on how my team of lifelong iPhone users get on with using Pixel devices as their sole phone. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Bye-bye.